Salaries. The most recent data available from 2021, that year the average teacher salary was $65,090, the equivalent of a 0.88% increase in constant dollars over the prior 10 years. In the meantime, the share of teachers who say their salary is fair has declined by 9 percentage points, or 26%. Currently, 26% of teachers strongly or slightly agree that their salaries are fair for work they do, according to the Merrimack College survey. So essentially, the salaries are flat, less than 1% increase in the previous year. When you have 8% inflation, and so this is terrible. I was surprised that the average teacher salary was $65,000, but we're going to see it varies drastically from state to state and from region to region, and then even sometimes within states it differs. I mentioned in our state, areas like that are around Louisville and Lexington, the teacher salaries are substantially higher than the rest of the state. Salary satisfaction rates vary by region is the next topic here. Like salaries themselves, salary satisfaction rates vary by region. They are highest among the teachers in the western United States, 35%, which is dominated by California, home to the second highest teacher salary in the nation at $82,746. They are nearly the same in the Northeast, where it's 32%, home to New York, which has the highest average teacher salary of $85,479. Salary satisfaction rates are the lowest in the South and Southern and Midwestern United States, where 21% of the teachers say their pay is fair for the work they do. The South and Midwest are home to the states that have the nation's lowest three average teacher salaries. Mississippi at $45,105, West Virginia 47,681, and South Dakota. I'm not sure what the South Dakota number is because my picture here is covering it, but it is low indeed, in that mid-40s range as well. And so, you have a wide variety of teacher salaries, and we find that the Northeast and the far West have the highest, and then the lowest salaries are in Mississippi, West Virginia, South Dakota. I think it would be interesting to see the teacher salaries normalized by living expense. I know that, for example, cost of living is a lot higher in New York City than it is in Bowling Green, Kentucky, for example, and so it'd be interesting to see what the salaries are in terms of cost of living, but also if you look at the flat rate of increase over time, and certainly inflation in particular now is super high, and so if you're not keeping up with the cost of living, you're losing money, and the profession is becoming less and less attractive as a result. Male versus female pay. There was a slight difference. Males made more money than females. It wasn't a terrible difference. It wasn't a super high wide gap. They mentioned that there's more opportunities for males to coach, for example, in the high school level. That certainly has been the case for a while, although with Title IX, even with the increased importance placed on women's athletics and opportunities, I think that gap is decreasing. So let's read what they say. As in the case with most professions, men earn more than women in teaching. One reason may be that they are concentrated at the secondary level, where pay is somewhat higher and there are more opportunities to earn stipends for additional work, such as coaching. However, while female secondary teachers are more likely than female elementary teachers to say their pay is fair, they are less likely than male secondary teachers to say they're earning what they deserve for the work that they do. And so here we're seeing that there is some level of dissatisfaction and perception, if not reality, that females are making less than males in their profession while essentially doing the same task. I do think that there is here, there are far more females teaching than males, and there are very few males teaching at the elementary school level, and so males at the secondary level have more opportunities for stipends, and so that might be part of the reason for the discrepancies. Autonomy. Okay, so this is a very interesting topic. How autonomous you feel in your classroom, how you feel like you have the ability to make decisions as a professional and to lead your classroom and to decide what goes on there. So they say here, autonomy is a key indicator of job satisfaction, with employees experiencing high levels of morale and low turnover rates when they have more control over their work environments. By several measures, teachers express fairly strong rates of autonomy, with the majority of survey respondents reporting that they have a lot of control and influence over teaching pedagogy, their students' classroom behavior, and the way they assess their students, and resources and supplies they need for instruction. Okay, so however, they express concern over limited control of their schedule. And it's really important here, and this is my 2 cents too, is it's important to note that this question was not about pedagogy. It was about pedagogy, or how to teach, but not about the content. And so, you know, in my 20 years of teaching, I taught high school chemistry. There were several initiatives that came through that I kind of disagreed with in terms of the content, and somewhat pedagogy related too. The first thing was that there was a push to have high performing high school students take chemistry their 9th grade year, and I thought that that was probably a mistake. Not that the students were not academically equipped to take the chemistry course, but there's more than academics and you know, the ability to do the work. There also has to do with the social aspect of it, the organizational aspect, and just being in high school. I thought it was a lot to handle for a freshman in high school to come in and take a really difficult course. And what I noticed was that a lot of the, you know, there were some girls that had trouble, but a lot of the little boys, the organizational aspect of keeping up with a strenuous course was overwhelming, and they needed a little bit more time to mature and to develop their organizational skills. And so eventually they gave that up and went back to making chemistry a sophomore level class. The other thing that came through was something called core. You know, they were emphasizing core content, and that there was an initiative to have the same core content across the nation. And this was an interesting thing. I was really excited about it because it was very organized, and it was very evident what they wanted us to teach. You know, it was all spelled out pretty good, and it was challenging, and so I was pretty excited about that, and I got all geared up to do it. And some of it I thought was, you know, probably a little bit too challenging for my students, but I thought, well, if this is where we're going, you know, we can work hard with our kids and get them up to speed, and tackle this content and get it going. And maybe 2 or 3 years later, they just kind of abandoned that, said that wasn't a good idea. And then they put forth what they call the next generation science standards. And those were not as exciting for me because they were very vague and they were more skill-based, and they were really hard to get your hands around exactly what you're supposed to do to have your students meet these goals and these aspirations of what they wanted students to be able to do. So, and I don't know, I think that's still hanging around, and so that was another thing. And it's almost like no matter what is started in education, they never give it enough time to really see if it works before the next great idea comes along. And so that was my level of dissatisfaction with what we were teaching. And so it's one of those things where you have people, I'm not saying always, but a lot of times you have people that haven't been in the classroom for years making decisions about what you teach. And in my opinion, they should listen more to the teachers and get more input before they make decisions. Another thing that our school district tried was to have standardized testing a class across courses. And so you would have a standard English exam for every unit that you were teaching, or a standard chemistry exam, or a standard physics exam across all the schools in the district. And that I thought was, had potential of being a good idea, to try to standardize the instruction and making sure all the kids got the same content. But the problem was that the company that they hired to do the testing wasn't very good, and I found lots of mistakes on the answer keys to the exams, and they didn't give us enough time to make multiple versions of the exams. The company didn't do that, and so of course with high school students, they never cheat. and so you had students that had the exams, and pretty soon it was a big old mess, and so they had to abandon that in certain areas as well. So, but anyway, a lot of things to have to deal with as a teacher, a lot of problems, and the content area is certainly a challenge to keep up with all the new exciting trends in academics, but also to be able to do it in a very, very smart way.